Everyone. I'm Ed Lewis, Deputy Director of Greater Spokane Emergency Management. With the benefit of having a 24-hour daylight as well as 24 hours since we've had the event, it's really allowed us to get a little bit better handle on some of the damage and devastation within our community. And we're continuing that assessment process as we speak. Last night, Governor Inslee declared a state of emergency for all of the state of Washington. And within that declaration in his statement, the governor went on to say that the recent windstorms in Spokane and around the state have done a tremendous damage and have left thousands without power. In Spokane, this damage has been greater than the ice storm of 1996. And the governor urges everyone to seek safety and listen to local officials as we continue through the recovery process from this devastating storm. As community members, we're going to focus an awful lot of our conversation today with you about what you can do to help support each other in this time of crisis. Cleanup and those activities around recovery are going to take a great deal of time, and we will continue to talk about that as the days come forth. I would like to introduce Mayor Condon, who was going to discuss a few other things that you as the citizens of Spokane and the greater area can utilize that information as we move forward.
Well, good afternoon. You will hear from several of the key stakeholders and community partners throughout this briefing. Some of it will be technical, some of it will be that of our community. And I'd ask, as you see and you hear about the methodical progress that's being made over the last 24 hours and the work that still has to be done. You know, as I've been out amongst the city and throughout the community, reports have come in from the field and that really are demonstrating the magnitude of the damage. You will hear a little bit more about that in the moments to come. Our crews are fully deployed, focusing on arterials and other critical areas in areas around schools and our healthcare facilities. Residential and side streets will follow. We're repurposing resources focused on the most critical work of clearing debris from streets, restore traffic signals, and assist our most vulnerable in our city. Although the number of trees down on public right-of-ways has climbed to nearly 376, nearly all of our arterials are open. Generators are operating 7 traffic signals, and power to 4 others has been restored. But there are still dozens that are not operational. We're continuing to update our maps on information on all of this regularly on SpokaneCity.org. We're also working to ensure that we have the resources in place to shelter those who need it most. And that work continues. We recognize that the community needs and desires that help. One of the best qualities of the greater inland Northwest is the community of compassion that we all have. In times of need, as we've seen in past times of emergency, we rally to help those most in need. This is one of those times. The rest of the month needs to be about neighbors helping neighbors. We're asking people to check on your neighbors, offer food, water, shelter, and other assistance as you can safely do and are able to do. No act is too small. We need Spokane, we need the inland Northwest to be inland strong. Simply knocking on your neighbor's door a couple times a day could save a life. We've already heard from many in the community asking for help that they need. Here are some of the things you can do. If you have power, and many of us know this in our neighborhoods, there are some homes that have power, some businesses. Invite your neighbors over for a meal, a shower, or to watch the news. Offer a place to warm up or charge devices. Help with the neighbor cleanup efforts. Relay information, updates from official sources like all of the media that is here today. If you're without power, you are comfortable and able to check on more vulnerable neighbors, please do that. Help with neighborhood cleanup efforts, relay information updates from official sources. We're all fortunate to live in a community that is ready and willing to help. The past 48 hours have demonstrated that over and over again. And we once again ask our community to be inland strong. Again, as you will hear today, we have coordinated many different services from our non-governmental organizations, our nonprofits, and others, and there will be centralization of numbers that neighbors can call for those that need help most. And again, for those of you on social media and other ways of communicating this, we ask you to begin to tag your items as #InlandStrong. With that, I'll turn it over to our partners at the county, the CEO of Spokane County, Marshall Farnell.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Echo what the mayor said. The notion of neighbor helping neighbor is certainly one that we certainly support. The city and the county have been meeting really since the storm. The county crews have been out every day clearing roads. We've been working with a vista. A vista has been clearing the lines, and we've been coming behind them with clearing debris. We've received numerous phone calls. We encourage phone calls. If people see debris, to call the county road department, our engineering department. We will try to assist as much as we possibly can. I think we're working very well together with everyone in our community, our libraries, our fire districts, city of Spokane, the city and the valley. We're all working together to try to bring the community together to help bring everything back to where it was a number of days ago. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon. I'd just like to give you an update on what's going on at Vista. And before I start, I would like to really thank our partners, our mayor, the county, police, fire, our social services. They're just doing a tremendous, tremendous job. And our community is really blessed to have such great professionals working so hard to support our citizens. As the mayor said, this is the most devastating outage we've had in our 126-year history. And I want to thank our customers for their patience and their perseverance as we continue to rebuild our transmission and distribution system following this devastating storm. I want to emphasize safety. We've been out of power now for going on since Tuesday night, and sometimes you can get used to seeing that power line down in the street or your yard. Please don't take that for granted. Please stay away from it. We have our call centers fully staffed. We have round-the-clock service. If you call Vista right now, we're answering most of our calls within 60 seconds. So if you see something, please report it to us. We'll answer that phone call, and we will respond to you quickly. I also want to remind you, we said yesterday, this is going to be a 3 to 5 day event. 3 to 5 day event in order to get things back in service starting yesterday. Remember, the teeth of the storm started Tuesday night. Our crews, we were activated. We had our emergency operating center. We were ready to go. Those hurricane force winds came in and devastated our transmission system, our substations, as well as our distribution system. So we've been working around the clock to restore some of that, and I have we've made some good progress. At this hour, we've restored power to more than 80,000 customers. That means in less than 48 hours, we've, since the crisis, nearly 50% of the 180,000 customers who were impacted at the height of the storm now have power. We're not going to stop there, obviously. We're going to work around the clock to make sure that we get everybody's power back on. And just let me remind you of some of the highlights. At the height of the storm, we lost 42 major transmission lines, 23 substations. As I speak today, all 23 substations are back in service. We've got all of the critical transmission infrastructure back in place so that we can serve system load. That's critical for us. So at this hour, the critical backbone, the engine of our utility company is up and running, and now we can focus on the distribution lines going neighborhood to neighborhood to get the power back on. But let me remind you a couple things about how we usually do this very challenging work. Remember, we go down and we'll start looking at trunk lines, the main feeder lines, and we'll do assessments. But then remember, there's laterals that go off each one of those trunk lines. We will not restore power until we have had visual eyes on all of those laterals, as well as those trunk lines, because we don't know how much power, how many lines are down. We have to visually look at it. We do not want to put one of those trunk lines in service and have a wire down off some lateral that we don't know about. So again, patience and perseverance. I wish it could be a much faster process, but I think we would all agree that safety of our citizens is the most important thing. As we begin this intensive work, let me just tell you a little bit about our crews. Right now, we have 43 large construction crews working in Spokane. We have 9 two-man smaller service crews working. I'll talk a little bit more about that in Spokane. We have a total of 56 crews across our 30,000 square mile service territory. So we have about 13 crews working in those other communities across our service territory. We have 3 crews that have come from BPA. Tonight, we expect to get crews from Pacific Gas and Electric in the Bay Area and Nevada. Remember that the outage started on the west side. Usually when we get mutual assistance, we would be getting help from our friends in Seattle and Portland, but they have their own problems. So the line crews are coming from San Francisco and Nevada to help, and we'll have those they'll be here tonight, and we'll have them out working first thing tomorrow morning. We should have 68 crews on the ground by tomorrow morning to continue the work process. Our priorities have stayed the same, critical around hospitals, police and fire operations, but also health and human services. We recognize that retirement centers are a priority for us. So those 9 two-man crews are currently going to the retirement homes to check in to see how extensive the damage is to serve those retirement centers. We hope that it's minor damage, we can get them turned on, but not knowing if they're off a lateral, what the trees are, we have to do an assessments, but we are currently in the process of assessing our community retirement homes so we can try to get them restored as quickly as possible. Schools are a priority, but I will just tell you that we will not have the schools open by tomorrow. Our goal is to have schools open for Monday morning. Let me also explain how what we plan on doing. We typically start making repairs on feeders one line at a time. We start at the substations and we work our way out down those trunk lines. Once we get the trunk line energized, we start going down the laterals, and that's what we're doing as we speak. We really are trying to do right now the low-hanging fruit. What's the biggest bang for our buck to get the most customers off those laterals and those trunk lines as we speak? If you drive around the south or the north side, you can see there are some places that there are literally 5, 6, 10, 20 poles are on the ground, and there might be a place there's only 1 or 2 or just some wire down. We're trying to assess where can we get the most customers up with power as quickly as possible, and that's our process that we're working towards. So through all of this, I want to just emphasize the safety of our community, and our crews is our top priority. Our entire community is rallying around this devastating event, and I really appreciate what the mayor said around Neighbor Days, neighbors helping neighbors. I can't emphasize that enough. If you do have power, invite your friends over. We're going to try to get there as quickly as I can, but now is the time we need to continue to rally and invite those folks that don't have power to your home, or do what we can do to help them. I know that all of us have wonderful stories of what our citizens are doing to help people. Just yesterday, one of our servicemen who was out assessing lines found an elderly man in a car. He was sitting there. He was trying to stay warm. He had found some wood for his furnace, but he couldn't carry it to his house. So our servicemen carried it in, got the fire started, and got it going. And that's just one story, which I can imagine the hundreds and hundreds of wonderful stories that are going on in this community of neighbors helping neighbors. And I want to thank everybody for doing that. So I guess just to finish, we will do our part too. We recognize the tremendous community need, and we're in the process of helping the American Red Cross and others with donations and other things that we can do to make a community impact to help during this challenging time. So I think with that, I'll turn it over to Brian. Oh, excuse me. I apologize.
Thank you. I'm Chad Jensen, CEO with Inland Power. I'm going to echo several of the comments that Scott made as well today, but do appreciate the opportunity to address this crowd today. Also want to thank, first of all, recognize the first responders and the community for coming together during this catastrophic event. Exactly as Scott said, this is a major event, something that we have not seen since Ice Storm 96, so it's a very major event. Also similarly, want to emphasize safety. Safety is very important. Also echo that statement that if a member sees a line down, please do not pick it up. Please call us. We are manned 24 hours a day saying, please give us a call and we will respond quickly. As you see them down, it just kind of becomes very common if people think, well, I'll go move that off my driveway or whatever. Please don't do that. They could still be live. So safety first, that's very important. As far as a personal update, it's where we are as a utility. Currently, we have about 14,000 members without power. For us, that's about 35% of our consumer base. We're projecting that number to be down to about 7,000 by this evening. Of that group, that 14,000, a little bit over 11,000 of those are all in Spokane County. So Spokane County was hit particularly worse, especially up north where the trees are at. We're making a lot of progress, realizing we started out of this with about 31,000 members, which was about 77% of all of our members were without power. We have all of our crews working around the clock. We have 15 crews. We want to express appreciation to our neighbors to the south, Columbia REA. They sent a crew up to help us, as well as Nespelem REA to the north sent a crew down. We have 6 other contract crews on site, along with our 6 crews working 24/7 to restore power. Very similar to what Scott said, we are taking care of our primary lines first. Very happy to announce that all our transmission and substations are back up as of about an hour ago, and we will be working the major lines, feeders from the substations out. I've talked to a few members today who are a little bit excited, saying, you know, all my neighbors have power. How come I'm the island here? Just want to emphasize that those will be the last ones we get to. Very similar to what Avista is doing, working the major feeders out, and we'll take care of the onesies, twosies is what we call them, as the outage continues. We're hoping to have all of our members restored by Sunday evening. That is our current goal. And I also want to take a moment to thank the community for coming together during this major event. It's very impressive to see everyone work together in these times of crisis. Also want to take a moment and thank the employees and our crews. It's incredible to see the team come together and the great things we're accomplishing. Would once again ask for our members and consumers to please be patient. We are working around the clock to restore power and appreciate everyone's patience. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, so one of the themes that has been discussed thus far has been around the concept of safety. So there are a couple of bullets that I'd like to address and kind of illustrate those with some incidents that we've had thus far. I really appreciate what the utilities are mentioning about us taking for granted as time goes on that certain lines are de-energized or that the threat has been removed. But I would echo that same concern and reinforce for the media to make sure that you pass this on to the viewers and your readers. Don't become complacent. The more time that goes on, we know through basic psychology and the way humans work, with more time increases complacency. So please stay vigilant. Make sure that you treat all lines as energized lines. And what we're seeing now within the last 24-hour period is an increased number of carbon monoxide related issues. There's one currently on the board, which is our terminology for an active incident in the Spokane Valley region, being handled by a very good fire department in Spokane Valley, but it's resulting in 3 critical patients. What we're finding is through methods of alternative heating and generator use, that is causing a buildup of carbon monoxide if you don't take precautions and install them or use them correctly. So this is the 3rd critical incident in the last 12 hours. One involved in the city of Spokane, 2 critical patients that are still in the hospital in critical condition, as well as a 2-story apartment building that resulted in several exposures or actually poisonings with carbon monoxide. So you'll be starting to see, if you haven't already, from public health and from all the agencies in a collaborative manner, facts, recommendations for how to use heating, alternative methods of heating, and how to use generators safely. I'm not going to go through all those, but I would ask for the media's help in reinforcing that message. Also, there have been more than anecdotal stories. There have been real stories reinforced this morning by our weather briefing that the cold in the atmosphere is going to become a pretty significant concern. With the number of outages that we do have and people needing heat, we're going to see a dramatic decrease in our temperatures. I would echo that we need to stay inland strong and check on our neighbors. This is going to be very important. We actually had, and to illustrate this, we had a call where in someone's home that there were 2 people that were elderly They were sitting in their chairs. They were essentially immobile without assistance. The cold came very, very slowly, and they came to a point where they were essentially suffering from hypothermia, and they were unable to ambulate. They were unable to get up. They didn't have anybody next door to go and just check on them, make sure that they were okay. Fortunately, one of the family members from out of town called us, and we were able to check on these people, and it was truly a life-threatening situation. So if your message to the public is that, go check on your neighbor, be friendly, be a part of the solution, I can't tell you how important, or reinforce to you how important that truly is. We've seen it. Scott's illustrated it. I've illustrated it with a medical incident, and there's probably somewhere between 50 and 100 of those incidents every day where a simple telephone call or a knock on the door to check on friends, family, or neighbors can truly save a life. So with that, I would also just echo that you'll be seeing more public information that comes out regarding the signs, symptoms of hypothermia, how to use those generators, and will be available for interviews afterwards if you'd like to do B-roll or do specific interviews on those.
Good afternoon. I'm Megan Snow with the American Red Cross. It really is my privilege to be here, not only to speak to the word of the American Red Cross and the amazing volunteers that we utilize, but also in response to all of the community organizations who've been working, again, around the clock to provide the support and the services to make sure that our community is getting through this disaster. We always find in our work that times of greatest disaster truly bring about times of greatest community spirit. And the resiliency that we start to see is really apparent. And so with that, I'd like to get into a little bit of the details, as Brian just spoke about. As we get extended into this cold, there are safe, warm places for our community to go. And we want to be sure that we're getting out that information. So I'm going to get a little bit into the details as to where people can go if they're in that situation. First of all, let's start with a resource number. Sometimes information is what people need the most. We are really prompting everyone to call 211. That really should be the first point of contact. If you have questions about anything, this is our resource information gathering point. We are making sure that our 211 staff have the information of available resources. That is the great starting point to work with. So please, we encourage that. Also, any nonprofits or any community groups that are providing services, we also encourage you to call 211 to let that staff know what support you're offering. In terms of a shelter update, the American Red Cross continues to operate 3 shelters. These were opened yesterday. So the first one at the Girl Scout headquarters at 1404 North Ash in Spokane. We do have a pet co-sheltering option at this shelter. We know that's always a concern for people. They don't want to leave their animals. So this would be the shelter to come to where we have that option. This shelter is also supported in terms of medically vulnerable. So we do have trained staff there that can support medically vulnerable. When we talk about that term, we're really looking at those who are independently ambulatory, but maybe have needs like oxygen, where they need power for those types of things. Currently, that's our one shelter that has that. We're in process to make sure that our Valley shelter location also becomes medically located. Our shelter at the Cheney United Methodist Church continues to be in operation at 204 4th Street in Cheney. And then the Valley Assembly of God, located at 15618 East Broadway in the Valley. As of 10 o'clock this morning, we also opened up a shelter out in Coeur d'Alene at the Coeur d'Alene Bible Church on 4th Street. And we are continuing to assess the need, and we are looking to open a shelter in North Spokane County later on this afternoon. As those details get solidified, we'll be sure to put that out to the public. Currently, with those 3 Spokane-based shelters, we had an overnight population of about 30. But our capacity is much greater than that. So really, we're asking our partners in the media, those with power, to share that information. Again, if you know of those that need a place to stay, a warm meal, we have limited shower facilities. They are available. But again, warmth, power, a place to stay. Please come to a Red Cross shelter. That's why we're here to help. We're really targeting those vulnerable populations, especially as these temperatures continue to drop, those who really have no other option. So please, again, share that information. Let's see, additional warming centers. Again, Red Cross shelters aren't the only ones in this. We are coming together as a community. So let's get into some of those details. Overnight warming centers. Salvation Army at 222 East Indiana serves men and women opening at 6 o'clock this evening. This location currently does not have power, but it is a safe place to go. Hope House, operated by Volunteers of America, at 113 West 3rd in Spokane, serves single women, opening tonight. Crosswalk, operated by Volunteers of America, at 525 West 2nd Avenue in Spokane, serves children under the age of 18, again open this evening. The House of Charity, operated by Catholic Charities, at 23 West Pacific Avenue in Spokane, serves men and women, but no children, opening tonight. In addition to these warming centers, let's talk about where places people can go to, again, get warm and get power. We know charging devices is a big thing right now. Spokane Public Library, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the downtown branch, Shadle branch, and East Side branch. Apparently power strips have been added and we are seeing good utilization of this service, so we know that the need exists. Additionally, Spokane Fire Stations 4 at 1515 West 1st and Fire Station 18 at 120 East Lincoln, open during the day. The Cop Shop in Shadle at 2215 West Wellesley and the downtown location at 169 South Stevens. The Cinto Senior Center, 1124 West Cinto Avenue. So those, again, you're finding that we have all of these locations available. We are trying to address the need. We're trying to make sure that we're cross-sectioning as broad of a reach as we can get. If you're also looking for an affordable warm meal, I can speak personally that my 3-year-old ate a Costco hot dog for dinner last night, which we appreciate, but another opportunity. Providence has indicated that the cafeterias at Sacred Heart, St. Luke's, and Holy Family are open and a good place to purchase a meal. So with that, I will turn back over to close.
Thank you. Carabella, do you have anything from City of Spokane Valley?
Thank you. I always wanted to make an impression. I'm Carol Bell Branch, Public Information Officer for the City of Spokane Valley, and I'm very honored to be here to speak on behalf of Mayor Dean Graffo, Spokane Valley City Council, and Spokane Valley City Council city staff members, all of whom have been working hard to keep our 92,000 citizens informed and to let them know what we've been doing to help overcome the challenges of this windstorm aftermath. We have had reports of upward of 70 downed trees in Spokane Valley. We have about 50 of those already taken care of. We are using city crews and contracted crews, and a crew from Geiger are all helping us accomplish that. Our building inspectors are proactively going out and canvassing the community to help inventory the damages where people might need to be able to access our permit information as they start to embark on repairs. We want to thank our partnering agencies, the utility providers, the first responders, for their collaboration with us and with the entire community to be able to help people recover from this situation. We also want to thank the faith-based community and those volunteers who are stepping forward to help our neighbors and help everyone who may need that additional help. We do want to particularly echo that safety information, especially when we're looking at the carbon monoxide poisoning potential. If you haven't made that connection already, those people who don't have power aren't getting the message through the media because their phones, their TVs, and their radios might not be working. So we really are counting on those neighbors to check in on your neighbors, make sure that they're okay, and see if maybe you can save a life or make a big difference. And we also want to ask that if you have a non-emergency situation where a tree is downed, it's blocking the right-of-way in Spokane Valley, please call city main number at 921-1000 during regular business hours, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. If it is an emergency situation, where there is life or property in danger and it's after hours, please call 911. If it's a life or property danger situation, emergency, please call 911 during regular business hours. But we do encourage you to be very careful and only use that number if it is indeed a true emergency. Other than that, again, 921-1000 for reporting down trees. Thank you.
Whoops.
There I do it again.
If you saw this back here, you'd know what the problem really was. we keep it behind here so no one else trips. Sorry about that. Any questions for the group that we have up here right now? Okay. If not, then Brian, what's the next call for the press?
We expect to have an update again end of day today, so probably around 4:30 will be a written update. So look for news release late this afternoon.
Thanks for coming. Yeah. Yeah.